If you're not doing the basics for managing the transaction,
have become very unorganized, and we kind of help put that back together.
What I think was the experience of a lot of my fellow owners was that we could handle the day-to-day.
So what is next for Waypoint?
Are you tracking your utility bills? Do you know what your kilowatt hour usage is? And do you have an energy manager?
Well, guys, thanks so much for coming. Welcome to Real Estate Bites today. So today we're serving up a conversation with Waypoint Strategies. This team helps owners plan and execute their projects with the perfect recipe for success. This is my food metaphors that I'm tying in here. From early planning to long-term operations, they make sure nothing gets overcooked, underseasoned, or forgotten in the process.
Bravo.
How about that?
Bravo.
Awesome.
So let's dig right in. I'm really excited to just, I don't know actually too much about your company. I wanted to know more today and use this as the opportunity for me to learn more as well, other than a little bit that I have researched. So I guess just like can you start with the overview and explanation of what it is that you guys do and what you're all about?
Absolutely. Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us on. We
Absolutely.
really appreciate it. This is a treat to get to sit down and just have a conversation with somebody about it that is really genuinely interested in learning. And from the conversations we've already had, that's really obvious. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Waypoint Strategies really focuses on helping owners build, maintain, and operate their facilities. And we like to keep it really simple, just like the best recipes are to keep things really simple, really straightforward, but to make sure you get it right.
Yeah.
And we really rely on a lot of core competencies to all the work that we do. Communication comes to the forefront with all of that and how we're engaging with our owners, not only just in the start, but how we're doing that throughout. And then also looking at it from the perspective of an owner. So when the concept of Waypoint Strategies came to be, it was driven through experiences I had had and knew some of my fellow building owners had had when we were trying to build and maintain and operate facilities and buildings and campuses and all the things that go with that. So when we talk about building, we talk about being someone's owner's representative. We really take that to heart. We want to know our owners. We want to understand their mission, their vision, their goals, what they expect from this project. And that stems beyond, on schedule and on budget. Like those are givens in our world that we do everything in our power to control and achieve. But there is more to a successful project. And that stems back to some of that communication, how we're managing those pieces, how we're ensuring that the owners are not only set up for success now, but also later. And that gets into the maintain and operate side. We've created a set of services around strategic facilities management as well. And that's where we really dive into how owners are maintaining and operating their facilities. And that can be in a wide variety of ways, right? My experience, and what I think was the experience of a lot of my fellow owners, was that we could handle the day-to-day. If lights needed change, filters needed change, something broke, whatever it might be, we were staffed and equipped to handle the day-to-day. But when we really needed to stop and start to think about what is it that it needs to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what are the systems I need in place so I can make smart decisions? I'm not just fixing what broke. I'm making sure that for a certain asset or for a group of assets, we're making the right decisions in the short and long term based on the investments that we're making. We aren't running it from a place of like, we run it into the ground and then when it finally breaks bad enough, we'll fix it and we'll scramble.
Start over.
We'll run the full emergency and try to fix it as fast as we can with the simplest solution. Like that was where we were. And I always believed that there had to be a better way, and I knew there was a better way. But to get there was a massive, massive lift. And
Sounds like it, yeah.
We created a set of services around handling the massive lift so that folks could go from reactive to proactive maintenance. And in that process, we were empowering them to do it themselves in a way that suited them the best. We weren't here to be an ongoing line item on their operating budget. We weren't here to take over control. We weren't here to say you had to do it a certain way. We come alongside them as a partner. We come alongside them as fellow owners. And ultimately what we like to think is friends, because we really like to get to know our owners and live in their shoes. And so we do it so that they're successful in the long run, whether we're there or not. And you can laugh, it might be bad business, but I tend to believe that doing the right thing for the right owners is never bad business, and we will figure it out.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I think that's really, that's what we do. I think it's not quite the elevator speech, unless we were at
Going to the Sears Tower.
What is
or whatever
it now?
the tallest building. I don't even know the tallest building in the world anymore.
The Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, the Burj Khalifa. Unless we were there, then we might have needed that whole elevator, right?
Yeah.
But
Well,
there you have it.
It's sticking with the food analogy. I mean, it's helping owners either write the recipe, or maybe they have all these recipe cards that have gotten way, have become very unorganized, and we kind of help put that back together.
It's almost like the grandma that's got, some clipped out of a newspaper article or something that's written down here and there, and it's like all these different things. So you guys are kind of helping to bring all those together,
consolidate, help
put it into the organized recipe box, if you will.
Yeah.
But it's all. But I think Audra nailed it when you talk about you first have to figure out and this is where the relationship building comes in. Figuring out the why from the owner's perspective. Why do they want to renovate this space? Why do they want to build this new building? Why are they looking at outsourcing versus insourcing, or vice versa? What's the why? You have to understand that first before you can really and truly help guide them to the end result.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So I guess really, how did you kind of gave a little bit of seeing how that there was a gap in there as far as something that needed to be created. How did you, I guess, get into that, right? And start the transformation into what you've got today?
Oh, that is
is that an even longer elevator? Do we need to find out? Okay.
We need to. We might be climbing to Mount Everest with that one. But I'll try to give the short story. Prior to joining the consulting world, I worked in higher education. I actually spent some time as well early in my career with the State Department of Transportation. So worked on horizontal construction before I worked on vertical, but higher education. And then also worked for and ran operations for the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, which,
oh wow,
if you aren't familiar with, is what we like to say is the world's biggest and best children's museum. And
place is extraordinary.
It truly is, and it was a place that will always have my heart. And I learned a mountain while working there. Not only was I charged with the building and the construction and kind of load in and load out of exhibits, as well as the fabrication of those exhibits, I also had responsibility for the customer service components, the visitor services, and security, which at a museum with the volume of priceless artifacts that are there, it is a 24/7, 365 endeavor. And so, but through that, those backgrounds and even that customer service piece of it, you really started to see where everybody's focus is. The mission of the museum is to provide a transformative experience for all of its visitors. And so that experience piece came first, as it should and as it needed to. But working in that environment, you saw what sort of lift was needed to take 500,000 square feet of highly interactive space visited by 1.2 million people per year. And you had a 7.5 acre sports experience, 20 acres overall, a parking garage, the whole thing. You saw what it meant to just try to keep up with that every day. And then to also try to find the resources and the talent and the funds and all those pieces to kind of make that move was big. And as I said, I love and have always loved the museum. I have an almost 10-year-old son. And so when you run operations at a place that is busy when kids are out of school, it creates some challenges. And so to kind of personal side story here for a minute, my son has a condition known as viral induced asthma and is known to flare sometimes when he gets sick. And so that teaches you really early how precious all of that time is, even more so. And so then when the demands of the job and the way I would want to do the job, the way I would want to lead through the job started to conflict with how I also wanted to be a mom and ensure I experienced everything alongside him, I decided it was time for a change. And I'm really fortunate to have been a longtime client of Schmidt Associates, which is the company that Waypoint Strategies is a part of. We are a division of Schmidt Associates, which is an architecture and engineering firm, and had been a longtime client, have known their CEO for probably 10 years, and sat down with her kind of on a mom-to-mom basis to say, I need some help. How do I do this? What do you think? I need to figure out what's next. I'm thinking about going out on my own. And she is a phenomenal and amazing person and very, very creative in her business practices. And she looked right at me and just smiled and said, I have an idea for you. And she said, come join us. We want to do this and we want to see where this can go, and come do this with us. And so the transition to a consultant is a moment.
It is a moment.
It is a moment. But they have really, really embraced kind of everything that I could dream of this being, right? They obviously were very familiar with owner's representative. And when I sat down and said, I want to do this, but I also want this, I know the market is missing someone to help folks better manage their facilities in a meaningful, non-controlling way. And they said, yes. And they're like, go for it. And that's where we are. And so that's pretty much how we got here. It's a little bit of everything, kind of all rolled into one.
Amazing how kids can do that. That's the same for me as well, that the family life and the kids is what sparked jumping into, entrepreneurship, really.
It is the most demanding job with the most flexibility you could ask for.
There
right?
you go. Yeah, for sure.
So, but that's how it all came to be.
So as far as Waypoint specifically, and kind of like where did that, I guess, get created, or was it like an overnight you woke up one day and you were like, this is what I want to put together, or was it a slow sort of transition into what you have today?
So I think
the creation of it, I guess.
The creation of it.
Yeah.
So when I sat down, I had that initial conversation with Sarah about kind of joining Schmidt Associates, launching this division, doing this work. I was fortunate to have kind of between working at a university and working at the Children's Museum, I did about 3 years where I worked for myself. So I'd kind of dabbled just a little bit. And I solely did it. It was after my son was born. I solely did it because I could work 3 days a week. And I spent the other 2 with him. And we had just had a grand time. It's amazing how not busy a zoo is on a weekday during the middle of winter, and you can literally have the place to yourself, and it's phenomenal. But anyway, the things you learn. But I did it for a few years on my own, and then got the opportunity to go work for the Children's Museum. So there was an inkling there of like, okay, I've dabbled, and it was truly just a dabble because the goal was to stay kind of part-time and all of that. But then when we had that conversation, I had kind of started to think about going back out on my own anyway. So the wheels had started to turn. And then once she kind of put the possibility of making it very real in front of me, I sat down and just really started to go, okay, what is this? What is this?
Yeah.
What is this? What is it that I want it to be? What am I passionate about? What do I know the gaps in the market are? Where do I want to live? What is the niche that we want to create? And I really got, just some great opportunity and some great time to really put that together in a plan. And I was doing that in the evenings and on the weekends when I wasn't working because I was still at the museum. Everybody knew I was on my way out, but we were just trying to hash that out in the process. And then spent some time for a few months with the marketing department right after I joined Schmidt. And we just really worked through what that means from a language standpoint, how we position it, said, this is what we're going to do. This is what it's going to be. These are our focus areas. This is what we're passionate about. I had already written an early mission statement, had already written, some other things, and came across the name Waypoint. And, Waypoint isn't a term we use a whole lot in our world anymore. It has very nautical ties.
Yeah.
But when I researched it more and started to realize, like, hey, this is about setting a pathway. This is about knowing where the markers are. This is about knowing all of these things. It felt very relevant to how we wanted to work with an owner, right? We wanted to set out what the goal was and then build the path for how we get there. We wanted to identify the waypoint. We wanted to identify the different markers.
Anyway, just as far as like the whole creation of it and coming from that, and like so the strategy part is the whole in between from getting the client to that waypoint, right? As far
Correct.
as that goes. So
yeah.
Well, super cool. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great story, and obviously coming back to the name as well. So I think the biggest thing we kind of discussed this before we got on air here, but just about the partnership part. And so I think going into the whole conversation about owner focused and like what that all kind of means for you guys and how that comes together as a whole in your business. Cause I see that for mine too, is the more of that partnership side and like really pushing into why somebody wants to purchase real estate or sell real estate, and really caring, right? And really giving a crap, we'll say, about what it is that they actually want to do, I think is really where the service side is.
Right.
And like really getting into who it is that they are, and not just trying to manage the transaction. Cause the expectation for what that is, I think if you're not doing the basics for managing the transaction, then you're not really functioning. But so it's really like what's beyond that. And I kind of like trying to tie in the owner focus part, and kind of wanted to see what that means to you and what that looks like with Waypoint.
Yeah.
Do you want to take this one, Casey?
Start, Casey, and then I'm gonna.
Sure. I think when you look at transactions, I think sometimes they can be, if you have the wrong mindset, I think you can kind of view that as there must be a winner and a loser. Sometimes you have, contractors or other owners reps, or we can all think of multiple instances throughout our, professional and personal lives that you've partnered with someone and you ultimately feel like the service that you received from them, so much of that was them trying to justify their service instead of actually achieving outcomes. And so I think that our approach is everyone gets the win on a project that hopefully we're involved with, the owner, the contractors. You shouldn't have to spend a bulk of your time as an owner's rep beating down a contractor or a subcontractor to say, look at the great job I'm doing for the owner. No. The best projects is when everyone gets to come out at that ribbon cutting day, and every person involved in that project, I should say, feels like they can be up there snipping the ribbon because they feel like they've had that much ownership and that much involvement in the process. So it's kind of bringing everyone to the middle, so everyone feels like that they've won on that project. Is that?
I love that. Yeah.
I think that's a key part for us, because we view our role as working for an owner as being an extension of the owner. And so the way we conduct ourselves, the way we treat others matters, because we're doing that on behalf of an owner. And we don't want to treat anyone the way that would misrepresent the intent and the focus of our owners. And we work a lot with mission-driven organizations, and we work a lot with municipalities who are public and front-facing. And so all of that and that conduct matters. And then we believe all boats rise together, that we can lift an owner and lift everyone on a project at the same time through quality work, good communication, strategic problem solving, with a focus on how, yes, we're protecting an owner's interests, and we'll step in where needed, But the way everybody is best represented is through something that is ultimately successful by everyone, assuming everyone shows up to do the job they were hired to do.
Yeah, and that's on them if they don't.
Right.
Right?
It's that simple, right?
It's that
simple.
Do the job. Do the job you're hired to do, and we'll make this really easy. I want to touch on also. You used an interesting word, and you said care, and I want to say that is so much a part of our philosophy as well that we wrote it into the mission statement.
Okay.
And it is actually strategically the very last word of our mission statement is that we will do so with care.
Ooh, nice.
And that's not exactly what it says, but care is the last word, and that we're going to do projects and we're going to serve our owners in a way that involves caring. And it's been interesting. There's been folks who read that mission statement and they're like, care? And it's like, man, if we don't care, then we are doing the wrong thing. So
Yeah.
I love that you used that word in describing what you do, because we're very passionate about that component as well.
Well, people feel that, right? So if you have that, I feel like that already you exude that as a business, then you are going to stand up above others. I don't know who your competition is, if you even have any at all.
We do.
We do. But if that right there, if a business or an organization or people, right, humans feel that, then they're definitely going to be more attracted to that.
Absolutely. I mean, we've all throughout our lives been involved professionally or on our personal side that we've gone into something knowing that our heart truly wasn't in it, and you feel it, and hopefully the project doesn't suffer. But we all walk away and we look back and we're like, okay, I wasn't all in on that project or on that conversation that I had with a coworker or a subordinate or a customer. We've all felt that, and I think again that goes back to those initial meetings with a potential client, a potential owner, from our standpoint of figuring out what they want to do. Work is always going to. The project's always going to benefit when those missions, those vision statements align, and sometimes it's more than just the words written on the paper. You've got to have these dialogues, and it's like dating in the early days. You're really trying to feel the other side out, and it doesn't. It's okay to have a couple of meetings with a potential client and just ultimately say this isn't going to work for either of us.
For sure,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
that's okay.
It's an interview from both sides. I feel the same way in the real estate world.
Sure.
Yeah, we have conversations, and it's a relationship for a long period of time.
Yes.
Right. So the project management side. I mean, I don't know what your longest project has been, but it's typically not a week.
No.
Typically not a week.
You want to be able to know that you're going to be able to get into that relationship for a long period of time and feel good about it on the other end, where everybody's showing up to the ribbon cutting.
Sure.
Right? So,
and just like we talked about, our approach is not to become a fixture on your P&Ls, to be a line item forever. But hopefully we do the first project well enough that when you're ready to do project number 2 or project number 3, you come back to us because the service you received.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So I guess challenges with the kind of building that trust with them, right? With the clients or potential clients in the beginning. I'm sure there's all kinds of hurdles with whatever that looks like, and because so people can talk, right? But sometimes seeing the actual projects in action is where the true trust and long-term relationship gets built. What do you think are the challenges that you deal with, and how you kind of put that together and share that so that they would trust you from the beginning?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Casey's been saying. We typically, I can't think of one client that we didn't either have an existing relationship with, that we brought with us when we came to Waypoint, or when we created Waypoint, or that we didn't have several conversations with ahead of ever executing a contract. And in some ways that's intentional. Those early moments are when we can prove our responsiveness, we can prove our follow-up, we can prove our communication skills, we can show that we're delivering stuff when we say we're doing what we say we're going to do. And so those moments are defining moments in a relationship, whether that relationship actually turns into a contract in that time frame later, or you're a referral or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so we're very intentional about that. And we also want to make sure, we don't have kind of cookie cutter out of the box services. We're tailoring every set of services, even when we're someone's owner's representative. The baseline is there, but oftentimes we hear from them in those conversations, the little things that would make a difference for them. And we figure out how to bring those into what we're doing. So no, there is no cookie cutter approach to what we're doing. We're not churning out mass quantities of gingerbread, right?
Right. Love how you brought that back to some food.
Yes.
In there,
so. See, I know.
It's pretty easy to do, right? Like it makes it fun. Yeah.
It does make it fun. So we're not. So I think right there in that moment, we're laying that foundational piece. And then I will say, we've all run projects. There is never a project without an issue. We know that those moments, more than anything, are also our defining time frame to step in, step up, and show why we're really here, right? Yes, we're watching, we're reviewing designs, we're looking at construction, we're out on site, we're visiting, we're talking with contractors, we're organizing schedules, we're managing broader budgets, we're doing all of those pieces, and those are really important. It's when something goes wrong that you really see the true colors of everybody you're working with.
1000%. Yeah.
And so those moments are where we really make sure we're at our best. And, we also know that we're all human. And so sometimes we are part of that because no one's perfect. And I think our difference is we won't try to make it look like it's not us. And in fact, we probably lean more towards saying, here's how we contributed, here's how we're fixing that, and here's how these 6 things are also getting fixed, right? Like, we're all still learning. Every project, every owner, everything is different, and it's going to throw something different at us. And we may catch it or we may not. And, this again might be bad business right here, right on air, recorded for all eternity. We're not perfect. Nobody is.
I would often at my prior job, it's all about building emotional capital because it's not a matter of if you need to go and make a withdrawal of emotional capital, it's when. And hopefully you've built up enough that when you have to draw down on that, it doesn't bankrupt the relationship. That's how you have to approach that. And I always think back to something my dad always taught me growing up. If you mess up, tell people you messed up before they find out you messed up.
Yes.
It's always it's about that ownership because we will. I promise you. I used to tell my residents in senior living, the only promise I will ever make to you is I am going to make mistakes. That's the only promise I'll make, and I hope to be able to correct them as quickly as possible. But know that I am as imperfect as you are.
And how was their response to that? I feel like that would be an obvious, I feel like they would immediately feel more connection with you. As a human, right?
I think so. I've always said that I'm about as subtle as a typhoon, and I believe in just being as upfront and as transparent as possible, and just know that I am a very flawed individual, but I'm going to make sure that my successes far and away outweigh my failures. And hopefully the failures are nothing that's going to be catastrophic to the project or to the relationship.
Yeah.
It's all about emotional capital.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And when owners learn you're going to be upfront about things with them, that goes way further than trying to make it appear that all is perfect. And that's me speaking from my personal owner side experience, right? And so one of the outsets and one of the goals in outsetting in all of this was to build a set of services in a way that would have resonated with me as an owner, right? And that, what I valued most as an owner and what I valued most as a manager.
Sure.
So if I was hiring this person, what would I expect? and that's what we're going to do.
A good owner's rep, kind of bringing it back to a food analogy. Think of all the great times at a restaurant. You know, you look for what makes a great server. They anticipate when they should be there. They don't hover. They're not always interrupting or interjecting. They have this really great ability to be able to anticipate the timing of everything. And I think that's what makes a strong owner's rep, much like a great server in a restaurant. We anticipate needs. And I think Audra and I both, having both been operators for so long of big facilities, we kind of, I don't want to say we've experienced everything, but we've experienced a lot.
Yeah.
And so we're able to anticipate potential issues at this upcoming pinch point. It breaks, you know, it's kind of like if you've ever been whitewater rafting, the good guides, they get you prepared.
They let you know ahead. Yeah,
they let you know ahead of time.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go through some rough waters.
Ooh, I like
Be ready.
that. That's a great connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So you can brace yourself, or at least not be shooken up so much when you do actually hit the rough waters, for sure. So I guess that kind of ties into my next question, just about general market challenges today and what you guys are experiencing on that front, and sort of how you do prepare your clients for that. You know, whether it's related to cost, right, inflation of things, labor challenges, timing of increase to the projects, right? All of that are a part of that.
Yeah, I think we're absolutely seeing more uncertainty across the board in the entire market. Whether that is what our costs going to be tomorrow, what is availability going to be, long lead time items, those sorts of things. We're seeing, obviously everybody's feeling a little bit of a slowdown just because that uncertainty creates more cautious approaches to different things. And I think that, some of what we're also seeing in the market is a shift towards, with costs going up, it's no longer the simple solution to just build something new. So there's so many folks in the industry, and maybe not with institutional clients, K-12, higher education, those folks who are working on fixed lands and fixed buildings. But in some cases in the industry, a lot of folks would just build their way out of a preventative maintenance problem. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that that's not happening as much anymore.
Okay.
And that has kind of, what's happened is when we embarked on Waypoint Strategies, we really thought owner's rep would be the leading service, and the facilities, the maintain and operate, would be something we did after the fact to kind of give a beginning to end set of services to owners, right? And instead, because we cannot currently build our way out of preventative maintenance, because we are all being encouraged to look closer at budgets and what we're spending and to make that more predictable, and there's less give to take on the unexpected, we're seeing where a lot of owners are starting with us on the strategic facilities management side. And then they'll say, okay, we've got our hands around this. Can you help us with project X, Y, or Z? Some of which was part of what we looked at during the facilities management, and some of it isn't. Some of it is, okay, now you know us. Can you help us with this? Can you help us with this?
Few things better than working with self-aware clients.
Right.
That can recognize that.
Yeah.
That they know that they need some sort of help. And it's okay if they don't even really know what type of help we need.
Right.
That's where we can help you sort that out. But just recognizing the fact that what we've been doing is no longer working.
Yeah.
It's no longer sustainable. How do we correct that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, but I also think that in general, we see that uncertainty. We see owners that are really nervous right now. We see some definite challenges as far as, helping them. They're feeling overwhelmed because everything's coming at them 500 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like I said, we start with a multitude. We'll talk with someone 3, 4, however many times they need before we get to a contract, if we get to a contract. And a lot of times what we're doing in that is we're just showing a steadiness and a responsiveness that gives them some assurance that despite the chaos that they're feeling around them, there are ways we can do this. And it kind of, you start to see the relief kind of tick down with them. I think that some of our other challenges are that we have in some ways niched out some services that aren't commonly found. And so then people don't even know to go looking.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of saying this is even an option. And then there's the cycle time of figuring out what that means, right? Which is great. We're happy to do that. And we love that. But market-wise, we're kind of in this spot where that's new and different. And so then just awareness becomes a part of it too.
So I guess that just kind of tying back in costs real quick, just because inflation, right? Things are increasing all the time.
Tariffs.
Yeah, tariffs. Oh, I'll bet that's a huge
It
piece.
is massive
Yeah.
in our industry right now, massive.
So what about I know there was like a huge conversation around just like green materials, sustainability in projects and buildings. And I guess are those things, because I just assume that those are extra costs that are going to be, added on. I don't know if they improve the project at all, but are people still using that and focus on that when they are, trying to put together a project or,
Yeah, it's a little bit of a double-edged kind of, I shouldn't say double-edged sword. That's probably not the right analogy for it. But I think what we're seeing as it relates to the sustainability and the green building, what we're really looking at with a lot of owners is energy. It's coming down to energy consumption.
Because it's a continual cost, right? That shows up.
It is a continual cost. It is a cost that is constantly going up. And right now, particularly recently, in most of the markets, we're seeing that cost go up dramatically.
Okay.
And from that perspective, while the focus isn't necessarily always lead silver, lead gold, lead platinum, those are underlying conversations that are still happening. The real focus in the industry has been on energy and energy consumption, and how do we over the long term look at energy consumption. And so that comes in a variety of forms. The first is choices that are being made in the construction of a building. So everything from envelope to mechanical systems to the electrical, and even some of how you're managing lighting and lighting controls. Like all those start to factor into overall energy consumption. And the other place that we're seeing it is that when we're going in to help someone kind of put their arms around the facilities that they have, we are inherently building into what we're doing work with our energy services team. So as a part of Schmidt Associates, we obviously have access to architects and engineers as we need, but we also have and can utilize and build into our services an energy services component. And that immediately starts to look at, first of all, 2 years back, utility bills. What's your consumption? What's your cost per square foot? Where do you have the highest use intensity? So that's going to tell us where the lowest hanging fruit is, right off the bat. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be looking at all the assessment data that we've pulled from a building, age, system age, equipment failures, all this information. And we're going to pair that with the energy services piece. We're going to start to look at where you can gain some ROI. And so where are there incentives? Where are there not incentives? We're also looking at that in construction, but we're also looking at that when we're looking at major repairs and rehabilitations and replacements. Where are we going to get that best ROI? Where can we also move this needle quite a bit, because energy costs are something that's never going away.
It's going to continue going up.
It's going to continue.
And that's something that can be used in everyday life. It doesn't have to be a high school, a university, a bakery. That's something with a small. That's something. Yeah, that's something. Yeah.
Yes.
See, got it.
Bakeries.
Got it. Nailed it. That's that can be a commercial real estate. I mean, that's residential real estate as well. These are all services that can be used if you want to take a look at that. It's if you're hooked up to a utility and you're not living completely off the grid with your own solar panel. I mean, you can benefit from taking a more strategic approach and a more strategic look at your energy usage.
Well, sometimes it's probably a no-brainer, right? When you put all that together in the entire cost of the project, and sometimes it's like, well, yeah, of course we need to.
Payback is 6 months. Right. We have to do this. I mean, that's a no-brainer, and that's really our head of the energy services really kind of gave us a script when we're talking with potential owners, there are like 6 questions. Really and truly, I think you just need 3. Are you tracking your utility bills? Do you know what your kilowatt hour usage is? And do you have an energy manager? And if you're sitting with a potential client and they answer no to those first 3 questions,
You know where to start.
you know where to start. It becomes a very easy conversation, and especially when you show them that it's not a scary conversation to have. It doesn't necessarily, from an information standpoint, doesn't necessarily mean that the cost to retrofit, do a retro commission, doesn't mean that you're not going to have some out-of-pocket expenses. I mean, you are, but at least once you learn the vernacular, it's not as terrifying as you think as it could be.
Yeah.
Well, and you're probably also giving a path, you know, the waypoint, right? As far as getting from point A to point B.
Sure.
We
In the
are.
process, which it makes it, I feel like, a lot less scary. You've got a plan on how to get there.
Yes.
And then we
Small
also
bites.
Small bites,
small
yeah,
bites,
exactly.
And then we also talk about how to get, you know, not only from point A to point B, but then from point B to point C. And I would say that next step is to say, let's also make sure you have a solid preventative maintenance plan and a solid maintenance plan, which goes back to that strategic facilities management. We will build full-blown preventative maintenance plans for equipment and for buildings and the like and campuses, because we can make all those changes and we can put a new piece of equipment in, we can recalibrate an existing piece of equipment. If you're not also properly maintaining that savings, that energy efficiency is short-lived. It's going to be for that period of time, maybe a year, maybe 2. But if you're not keeping up and don't have a solid plan for doing the rest, it's a short-lived relief valve. And our goal is to make that a long-lived relief valve.
And it has to be achievable.
Right.
Those benchmarks have to be achievable. It's like, oh, I want to run a marathon and I want to do it in a month. Probably not the best plan. And so it's achievable goals that the owner doesn't take a look at this and say, we're never going to be able to accomplish this.
Yeah.
It has to be doable.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess, do you have kind of an actionable step for owners and like where, you know, putting the, I guess, whether it's connecting with you guys, number one, or just like for getting connected with you and your business and how you can help, like what is something that they can do to be able to connect with you?
So our website is great. It has a spot where you can say, contact us. And I know, you know, those aren't necessarily popular, but it is waypoint-strat.com. We are also on LinkedIn, which is another great way. If you message us there, we'll be getting right back with you. It's actively managed all the time. We get notifications anytime that happens. And you can also connect directly with Casey and I on LinkedIn, and we can be found there. So our website, you know, track us down any way you want. You know, we're pretty responsive, pretty easy to find. So
I have a different approach. I have a different answer.
Oh, I think I'm gonna like your
Ooh, I
answer
like
better.
it.
I
No,
gave the straightforward
I like how
one.
you're very active. I feel like you're very active on LinkedIn for sure.
Yeah, it's the only form of social media I'm on, so it's my only
Okay.
outlet. It's my only outlet. No, I'm
You
just
hit it
kidding.
hard, you know, you might as well-
No one would ultimately care what I have to say anyway. But I think before you get to the point where Audra was just saying, yes, once you know, there are a lot of ways to get in contact with us. I think, to me, the first step is have an internal discussion with your team, with your facilities team, with your senior leadership team of your organization, and ask yourselves, are we operating our facilities, our building in a way that is benefiting the organization and benefiting the people? Are we seeing a return on our commitment to our people, to our buildings? What does success look like? Do you think if you were bringing in an outside company that would potentially, they were going to buy your business, with the way you operate your facility, would that be a red flag for them?
I love that. Yeah,
I think
love that.
once you, so I think step number one is taking a really hard, take that spotlight and shine it back on yourself.
Yeah, which is hard to do.
It's hard to do.
And be ready for an open, honest answer, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Position yourself for an open, honest answer.
And be okay with what you find, because it's okay if you haven't been operating it the way that it was supposed to be operated. That's okay. But I think if you can have an open, honest discussion with your team, both the people doing the day to day and then the people overseeing the organization. If you feel like this could be better, okay, then come find us.
Yeah. And I think I'll also say to that if you're that person running the facilities and you know that we've got to do better and you're kind of hearing it from your leadership team, but maybe it's not fully embraced yet, don't hesitate to still talk to us. We work with a lot of owners to help translate what they're seeing into verbiage and communication that resonates with their leadership, tailored to their mission, to their focus, to what their overarching goals are, and how we make that tie in, right?
Yeah.
We help make that connection to, hey, if this is your business model and this is the challenge you're having, it could be a risk to revenue. It could be relative to a risk to reputation. It could be just budgetary risk, and it is what it is. But we help to kind of translate those pieces for them to help have that bigger conversation. Because sometimes it's I know I need help, but I know I'm not going to be able to garner the support.
Yeah.
Or I don't feel like I'm going to be able to garner the support.
Sure.
And so I think there's some opportunities there where we have been able to help folks kind of position that and, doing it from a place of really looking at it through their lens, not just what we say, but like,
That's great.
this is what it truly means.
Well, I think that what's so great about that too is so usually that person, right, the facility manager or whatever, they're the one that's feeling the pain.
Yeah.
They're the one that knows that something needs to be different if they're the one that's handling and it's all filtering through them. And so being able to help translate that to maybe the people that ultimately make the decision, right?
That's the key.
Yeah.
Yep.
I used to say data is king. Well synthesized and well communicated data is king.
There you go.
Because you can do all the data gathering you want, but if you don't feel comfortable presenting that to the senior leadership team, your chances of it going in, or unless you can find someone to do that on your behalf, whether it's someone else within your organization or an outside entity like Waypoint Strategies, you need someone that can both talk the talk and then both walk the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And be able to communicate it in a way that they can also hear it instead of just crossing their eyes.
Sure.
Or just keep pushing through as everything was, fine, right?
Right.
Whereas it potentially may not be, or maybe there's better ways, better efficiencies to look at.
Yeah.
For sure. So what is next for Waypoint? Big question. Simple question, but a big question.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I think that our focus right now really is around growth. And I think what's next for us is Casey's been doing a ton of work down here in Louisville. And so I think really putting a mark down here and garnering some work and roots and really pushing in here in the Louisville area is a big thing for Waypoint that we've invested in and is probably our next big thing. And then, we're also staying focused up in the central Indiana area around the same piece. And I think for us, next is probably just, the business next of we want to grow, we want to do that. And then I think the other piece of that I'll say is the next is also going to be driven by our owners.
Yeah.
We're constantly in a listening mode. We're constantly figuring out and listening to where our owners are challenged, and we're coming back and we're thinking about how do we tailor what we're doing to be able to address this for this owner, right? Or for what we think might be multiple owners. So our next will be very owner driven from the get-go. Large scale business-wise, we want to grow, but when we think about where we want to look and focus next, it is going to be owner driven, staying true to who we are.
Yeah, it's building brand awareness. It's not to say that it can't happen, but people aren't going to trust you with a, several $100,000, multi-million-dollar project until they learn who you are and what you're about. And so again, it goes back to building the relationship, showing that you can add to their bottom line, not only financially, but from a community awareness standpoint with this latest and greatest project, or community awareness within the organization that leadership is listening and they're here to kind of future proof that organization. So I don't want to say it's a hurry up and wait approach, but it kind of is. Trust has to come first. That's the cornerstone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, just to kind of go into the out of work side of the where you guys are at in your lives and what you do you kind of have anything that, something that somebody wouldn't know about you or expect as far as something that is, something you'd like to share or that might be of interest that I know Casey has a fondness for shoes and also pins as well, like fountain pens. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And don't forget the watches.
And
don't forget
watches.
the watches.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm a watch guy.
I think I knew that just by seeing what you wear as far as watches go. So
You flattered me. I don't think it's a big secret. I'm a big reader. I'm really kind of boring outside of work. I love to read. I love to travel. Travel is probably my favorite. Is my favorite thing. I ultimately work so I can travel.
Okay. I don't think I knew that about you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's my favorite thing to do.
Other than I knew you went to Tokyo not too long ago.
Yeah, I spent 2 weeks in Japan last year.
Yeah.
I left my former employer. A week later, I hop on a plane and go spend 2 weeks in Japan. And while I'm over there, I created an LLC to do some consulting in the meantime before, always hopeful the Waypoint Strategies thing would work out, and it did. But it taught me, being one's boss wasn't the dream I thought it would be. I didn't like it.
Okay.
No, it's not for me. I like being part of a team. I didn't enjoy it the way it was fun, because I like to I focused on nonprofits and doing just some consulting with, P&Ls and operational, sort of similar to what I'm doing now. But I didn't like being my own boss. So I love spending time with my girlfriend and her sons. But no, I like to cook. I'm not great. I'm never going to open a restaurant. But no, I love
a smart idea, to be honest.
Yeah, I used to think that would be such a glamorous life, and a friend.
Somebody's still got to take out the trash at the end of the day.
Yeah, a friend and former mentor who grew up in a restaurant family. They own 4 diners in Pennsylvania. He said it'll be the biggest mistake you ever make if you open a restaurant. So that kind of scared me back into not wanting to do it. But no. I just love to travel. I love to see the world. I think the best way to understand your fellow man is go see how they live. And I think that's very cool. And one of the best ways to experience a different country or a different culture is to eat your way through.
There you go. Love that.
I ate my way through Japan for 2 weeks, and it's phenomenal. So,
what about you, Audra?
I am a mom to an adventure-loving 10-year-old. So that has created, he loves to mountain bike, and luckily his father does too. I occasionally go out there.
Okay. Wow.
So that might be slightly unexpected. We also snow ski. So
awesome.
That's also a lot
Tell
of fun.
them about your sourdough.
Oh, yes. Well, we can't. It is.
Andy will
all,
appreciate that.
Yes.
Are you a fan of sourdough?
I have a sourdough starter.
Awesome.
Said sourdough starter has a home. So one of those sourdough homes where it keeps it at the same temperature so that it thrives. Sourdough has become a thing. So I was a
Was this a COVID creation?
No, it's probably just been in the last, it's probably been just about a year. Because it was Thanksgiving of last year, cousin of Jacob's brought a bunch of sourdough for everybody for Thanksgiving, and she had gotten into it and brought it. And so I think, she brought it, and I am gluten intolerant, have some gluten sensitivities. And so bread has never really been something that I could really have. But with the fermenting process that happens with sourdough, it kind of breaks that down, and I can have a little bit every now and then.
I've heard that from people that have those intolerances.
And so that was fascinating, and my husband loved it. And it also fits into the kind of framework of the diet that we are utilizing as a family, which is reduction and removal of all the added sugars. And when you start flipping packages over and you realize everything that's in there. We were strategizing ways to kind of work that out. And sourdough is obviously very straightforward and simple. It's water and flour and salt. And that is the basis of sourdough. And then, I add seasonings here and there, but all that combined, and my husband loved it. I got into sourdough and dove like head first down into it. I make bread. I make bread for multiple people in the family and the neighborhood. So we do the bread piece, but we also do family favorite is sourdough pancakes on the weekends.
Awesome. Love that.
I am working on sourdough dinner rolls for Thanksgiving.
Dang.
And making sure that we've got those. And we have done, it's the bread. Oh, sourdough pizza crust.
Oh my gosh.
So the sourdough starter gets a good workout in our house, but it has its own home, its own place. Been of the sourdough feed. I mean, just
probably a good thing we didn't start with this conversation because we might not have even talked about Waypoint at all.
Right,
so.
exactly.
I also would love to go on record to say that I have yet to try the sourdough, and it hurts me here.
I know.
It hurts
She's just trying to build the suspense.
I've seen
that's all it
photos.
is.
I've seen photos of the end product, and it looks incredible. And here I sit, a man without homemade sourdough.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, yet.
I'm working yet. I'm working. It's
Well, I mean, I'm going to throw this out there. So it probably doesn't have a long shelf life. You're not adding preservatives and things like that. So it's like, you got to make it and get it to you as fast as possible.
I have
so
to
also just
perfectly time
knowing that from the standpoint of like delivery to you, she wants to make sure it's exceptional.
yeah.
Or is that what we're going with? I love it.
That's the way I see it. I see it. That's the way I see it from my
I
angle.
really appreciate that bailout. Thank you. But it is fascinating. It is fascinating from that perspective, and this is kind of about food, but like there aren't preservatives in it, and it is amazing to see how long it doesn't last. We can get about a week with one in a Ziploc bag.
Okay.
But when you think about that, and then you think about the shelf life of other products that we buy along the same vein,
it's so odd that they do sit for so long, I think.
Yeah,
It actually makes it
odd.
It makes it odd, yes.
It flips that philosophy for you. Realize, that is odd that it lasts that long.
Yes, exactly.
Do I get the chance to ask the host a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, excellent.
For sure.
So I love desert island questions.
Okay.
If you're going to be stranded on a desert island.
Okay.
So if you were stranded on a desert island and you could only have one meal over and over, endless supply, what are you having?
Wow.
What makes up that meal?
That's a fantastic question. Well, it probably evolves is the reality of what that answer would be. And I think so recently my wife and I took our 20th anniversary to go to Italy on a trip.
Oh.
And, the food is just, it's so simplistic. And, you hear people say that all the time. I think once you actually experience it and get the pace of life and like how they eat their food and how simplistic it really is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just like whatever the sourcing of the food and the creation of it, it's obviously just built more into their culture.
Yes.
And the flavors are just, it's like the simple stack is the way everything is like just simply a little bit better. Yeah. So like the quality is a little, just like, it's like subtly different, right?
Yeah.
Subtly improved. And you have all these subtle differences of how they put it together, the quality of the food, and it just makes everything just like at the end just be that much better than probably a lot of what we're exposed to, unless you're making your own sourdough.
Unless you're making your own sourdough.
That brings it up there, maybe even above some of the stuff. So, but I think, really what it comes down to right now for me is we've been making actually bread at home a lot, and we've been making focaccia a lot. I just did a focaccia demo at the library, the Louisville Free Public Library, which was super cool.
Nice.
So was able to tie in some real estate into that as well. But it was just it was a sold out group that came. They have a really cool program there that they are trying to bring in local chefs and even home cooks and things that are really good at making things to present. So I have been really on this focaccia kick because you can do so many things with it, and it's such a versatile dough that I feel like right now I could eat that for every meal every single day
Without question.
And I don't know. It's like I've always made it before, but when you come back to something again and make it, and you have a different perspective later on. Now I'm so hooked on it right now that I make it all the time, and my family loves it, and we use it, and we have stashes in the freezer, and always trying to keep a dough going.
An
So,
emergency focaccia
yes, exactly.
supply.
And there's just it's so versatile, right? Like you can make just so many different things with it, and so I would say that having access to focaccia on a desert island right now would be my go-to, and that's simple as that, really.
I'm going to let it play. I'm going to let it play.
That's really great.
It is a good answer.
So
I think you can do a version of focaccia with sourdough.
yes, absolutely, yes. And so
But
I
it's kind
actually
of a
use
derivative.
the way I do it is kind of a no-knead version, right? So it's a
Yeah.
slow. Overnight is totally fine. I like to go multiple days if I can, using a refrigerator and slowly building those flavors over time, and essentially turning the whole mass into a sourdough, essentially, right?
Yep. Letting it just sit.
So that's the flavor development, and building all of that from there is absolutely incredible.
I love
Actually
it.
thinking
I
about
love
it
it.
right now. I wish I had some going today I could bake off, but I don't. So I think the only other question I had, which I just went blank on what that was. I know what it was. I basically wanted to just tie in Waypoint as a dish to a restaurant. So if Waypoint was a dish on a menu, what do you think Waypoint would be? And could be any category, anything, but just sort of what that would mean to you and how that would show up.
Oh, I have mine.
Oh, okay. I have mine. Do you want to go first?
Ladies first.
Okay. I think it would be like lasagna.
Okay.
So lots of layers, and you're building that flavor as you're building the layers. But also there's traditional lasagna, but there's also all the variations thereof. There's veggie lasagna, there's white lasagna, there's all those things. And so it's a dish that builds on layers, builds on flavor, much like we're building layers of trust and relationships with our owners, but we're also then able to customize all of that to fit their needs or their taste palette. So I think we're lasagna.
I love that.
So
Yeah, I love that.
That's my take. What's yours?
Technically a Roman dish, not Italian, but I was going to say cacio e pepe.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it looks very simple, as there are only 4 ingredients. So I think in the early stages of Waypoint being roughly 15, 16 months old, we have 3 dedicated Waypoint employees, myself, Audra, and Kelsey up in Indianapolis. So we are able to, with very little, able to turn out something that is absolutely magnificent.
Ooh, I love that too.
So
yeah.
I think, we have all of the support of Schmidt Associates. So that's the behind the scenes, those are the cooks, those are the sous chefs, those are everyone in the kitchen that's helping us turn out that dish. But I think it's very simple, but it's not as easy to achieve as you think. So
I like that. So, and it is about the quality of the ingredients, right?
of course.
It's about the quality of those few ingredients to make an exceptional.
Yeah. Sometimes less is more sort of thing.
Definitely. I'm still trying to learn that. That's a hard one. I can very easily get excited about a lot of things, and it's really hard to actually pull back. It's actually harder to say no, I think, than it is to say yes, because there's just so many opportunities, so many cool things that you can do. And it seems like that would be the same for you guys in your business, for sure.
I signed up with the U of L College of Business to do what they call their BUMP program. It's Business Undergrad Mentor Program, and I have a mentee this school year. And during our first meeting, she's working full time, going to college, and I said, one of the most powerful things that you will learn in your career, and it took me until my late 30s, early 40s to do, is how much power there is in saying no. And I don't mean power in a negative way, but I mean it gives you the proper amount of control over not only your life, but I think no helps you set and manage expectations, which I think is so important.
Definitely. Love that. One last question. This is totally off the wall, but I've been asking this question to everybody is, what is one thing that you would eat in your kitchen standing up, usually over the kitchen sink, where nobody's home. You're hungry. You're just coming home to like slam something in your face. Mine is pretty like, I say the same thing all the time, which I don't think there's any problem with it, but it's just I think it comes from my dad, but he always liked like canned fish. Like that was always like his thing. So, and it's not something I can eat when people are home because it stinks. So just like something like that is usually what I'll go to if I have it, right? Is something with some different cheeses or mustards and crackers and just kind of combine a meal and shove it in my face over the kitchen sink. So you have a go-to of any kind that maybe even eating out of the refrigerator door being open.
Right.
I think
roll of turkey and cheese, or
I think there've been I have a handful over the years, but I think the one that I'm currently that I've been kind of fixated on for the past several months, and I always have an endless supply of Greek yogurt, blueberries and raspberries and blackberries. And so if I come home and I'm starving and it's something quick, I will throw Greek yogurt in a bowl. I'll throw handfuls of
so healthy. I like
all the
it.
different berries. Yeah, but I spent the bulk of my life becoming unhealthy. So let's not misunderstand the timeline. Keep in mind, I said over the past several months. But I think throwing a bunch of Greek yogurt and a scoop of protein powder and some fruit and kind of mixing it up, it scratches an itch. It feels a little more like guilty than it should, but it's actually very good. I would think if you look back, I've always loved like eggs in a basket, and I can do that very quickly. Take some bread, butter in a skillet, throw in it, cut a hole in the middle, crack an egg in it, and just eat it standing up. I would fix that.
I was going to say, did you ever do it like right out of the pan, kind of like pick it up and
100%, absolutely. I am a single guy from a standpoint. I live by myself, and so I rent a small apartment. I don't even have a dining table, so I either eat sitting at my couch or standing at the kitchen
you're like,
sink.
All my meals are that way. What are you talking about? It's not like a once in a while. Okay.
Bowl of cereal, lasagna. I mean, all of it.
Right. There's probably two like go-tos. One is, we've been on a food journey of kind of trying to clear some stuff out that just wasn't the best for us, reducing the sugar, which I mentioned earlier, and doing all that. We've also been trying to remove some of the seed oil stuff to just help in general. And so we came across these, I don't even know who makes them, but they're sweet potato chips done in avocado oil. They are so good.
Trader Joe's has.
Is it a Trader Joe's product?
Trader Joe's has a couple varieties.
We found these at Costco.
Okay, or Costco.
So like
Costco.
I think it's Jackson's or something like that. And I will take those and I make like dips in ball jars. So there'll be ranch dip and or onion dip. And man, the Kinder's onion dip mix in Greek yogurt with that sweet potato chip, like I'll just stand at the kitchen
smash
counter
a whole bunch of
and
those.
smash
Oh, I love that.
A whole bunch of those. Took everything that was supposed to be healthy about making that change and just negated it in quantity. But
excess and moderation.
Excess and moderation, yeah. The other one that I'll do a lot is I get the little individual containers of cottage cheese. And this is maybe more than one should share, but I love it with buffalo sauce.
Wow.
So I thought I was the only one. I will take cottage cheese and squirt sriracha in there.
That's same
Yeah.
category.
Same category. Yeah. A little bit of buffalo sauce and
wow, I'm gonna have to try that. I don't think I've always done. I have done like black pepper, right? So or red chili flakes or something like some kind of spiciness. So that fits the same.
It's just I just pour a little buffalo sauce over it, mix it up, and it's like a creamy buffalo sauce. It's almost like the chicken dip, like the buffalo chicken dip, minus the chicken. Because I didn't, again, quick, easy, what can I scarf down? Yeah. And I'll just do that.
I will do that and throw in a handful of cherry tomatoes, and that will be a snack. But sriracha in cottage cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I'm looking for ideas. That's why I always ask these. I'm like, what do people just go to? What's their go-to?
Yeah. And those little individual containers are nice because they limit my consumption.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
My girlfriend likes the joke. She's like, I've never met someone who is equally at home in a 3 Michelin starred restaurant, but also eating like you just described. She was like, you can be so utilitarian with how you eat.
I love that.
Sure.
Anything else that we need to know about Waypoint, or I guess any other thing that we didn't talk about today?
I mean, I think this has been an amazing conversation. I've loved it.
Me
It's
too.
been-
This
Yeah,
has been
great dialogue.
Yeah, I didn't really know. Like, you just don't quite know where it's all going to go.
Right.
But I think perfect time today, and had such a great time having you guys on. And
Yeah, we
I didn't
really
really introduce
appreciate
you, as, of course, but Audra and Casey, thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Andy.
We enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed it.
Cool. Well, hopefully this will be good. You'll get some little snippets out of this and
This was
be
fun.
able to use
this was a lot of
anything
fun.
or not, or we just got to hang out. and have a
You're
good-
very good at just letting it kind of take its natural course and
Yeah.
right tempo with asking the questions. And yeah, it's
Well, I don't know if I told you this, but when I first came in here, I didn't know what I was getting into. I just came to check out the space, but I guess I was actually coming in to do recording. And so Cameron, the guy who owns this company, he actually, so I met him here. We kind of had a real brief conversation in this room. And then he said, okay, well, I'm going to, here, have a seat. I'm going to go ahead and start recording, and then I'll be back in an hour. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, yeah, don't you want to do some like content? I was like, I had no idea that I was going to be doing that and starting. So I literally sat in this chair just making stuff up, trying to create a conversation. It's a lot harder when you come unprepared and not know what
I'm
to talk
sure.
about. But once you splice it all up and edit it, it looks amazing. And
Looks
you're kind of like,
great.
oh, it's actually not too bad. Even though I
Yeah.
didn't really even know what I was talking about. So,
awesome.
but coming in here and, I think you obviously got to enjoy the people that you're meeting with, of course, but
yeah, it's a serve and volley approach. Really, is what it is.
But it makes it a lot of fun. So thanks a ton.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
This
Yeah.
is great. This
It's
is
been
great.
awesome.
Cool. Well, good. I
right.
enjoyed it as well. And